Let's read today's Bible passage from Proverbs chapter 30, from verse 7 to the end of the chapter. Two things I ask of you, Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you, and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of God. Do not slander a servant to their master, or they will curse you, and you will pay for it. There are those who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers, those who are pure in their own eyes, and yet are not cleansed of their filth. Those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are so disdainful, those whose teeth are swords and whose jaws are set with knives, to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind. The leech has two daughters. Give, give, they cry. There are three things that are never satisfied, four that never say enough. The grave, the barren womb, land, which is never satisfied with water, and fire, which never says enough. The eye that mocks a father, that scorns an aged mother, will be pecked out by the ravens of the valley, will be eaten by the vultures. There are three things that are too amazing for me, four that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a young woman. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Under three things the earth trembles. Under four it cannot bear up. A servant who becomes king, a godless fool who gets plenty to eat, a contemptible woman who gets married, and a servant who displaces her mistress. Four things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyraxes are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in the crags. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. A lizard can be caught with the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. There are three things that are stately in their stride, four that move with stately bearing. A lion, mighty among beasts, who retreats before nothing, a strutting rooster, a he-goat, and a king secure against revolt. If you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. For as churning cream produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife.
So do keep Proverbs 30 open. Gosh, there's a lot there, isn't there? Where are we going to go? Well, maybe you're feeling a bit like Agor, the writer of Proverbs 30. He says, look at the beginning there. I'm weary, God. But I can prevail. Surely I am only a brute, not a man. I don't have human understanding. And curiously, in this wisdom book, it's almost like we've become a prophetic book, as there's this sense of the transcendence of the Holy One who has the truth. And verse 5 has a word that is flawless, who is a shield to take refuge in him. And we're warned not to add to his words. So why don't we take up Agor's prayer as we begin? Lord, in the complexity of our lives, we can feel ignorant. We can feel a bit like brute beasts. And we can feel that your wisdom is far away. So please come to us. Please bring your word to us that is true. And please help us to listen. Amen. What do these things have in common? A note in a diary for an appointment with a lawyer, a powder compact found under the seat of a car, the arrival of a stranger in a village who looks very much like the owner of the village's large factory. Come on. They are clues in Agatha Christie style whodunits. People always get killed just before their appointment with their lawyer to change their will, don't they? Affairs get discovered because there's a powder compact on the floor of a car. Someone is killed because the lost son arrives in the village, the son that nobody knew existed, and he arrives in the village to take over the prosperous factory. Well, the book of Proverbs assures us that there is a world that's orderly and fair, a world where skill and decency win the day, and the ideal crime procedural is full of reverence and awe, a careful treating of evidence with respect, with meticulous care, with logic, with due process, with reverence, with awe, with fear of the Lord, if you like. But most of the time in whodunit stories and most of the time in our lives, order and decency are under threat because there is such a thing as the human heart. The dark, troubling, murky world of the human heart. And so a detective's job is often to go digging for motives. And Proverbs 30 has come into the room today to say, I'm going digging for motives. Your motives are often hard to discern. They're often craftily hidden, but they exercise a real power in the kind of person that you are. There are dark, troubling forces at work in our hearts, and they're going to turn up in our attitudes to all kinds of things. I've chosen a few: money, sex, power, things that are on view in Proverbs 30. And wisdom is the careful discernment of the good, the bad, and the ugly that lives in us all. But how to get to motives? How do we get to motives? Well, interestingly, the book of Proverbs seems to teach us that riddles are one of the ways that we get to motives. So Agor riddles us today. And of course, Jesus knew this. He knew that if you wanted to sift the hearts of a crowd of people, the best thing to do was to give them a riddle. In public, to preach in parables that didn't explain themselves. It's riddles and parables that explore and sift and discern the state of the heart. So I don't know what the big idea is going to be for you in this sermon, because it'll depend on what you discern and what sifting is. Oh no, there's no big idea. Oh yes, there is. If you're looking for a big idea, it's this. Probe your motives. Examine your heart. Because things like money, sex, and power bring out all kinds of murky motives in us all. Now, parables and riddles, they probe you, but so does prayer. And it's interesting and quite rare for the book of Proverbs that we've got a prayer in verse 7. 2 things I ask of you, Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise I may have too much and disown you and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal and so dishonour the name of my God. If I'm rich, I could end up being like the fool at the opening of this chapter, perhaps somebody who's in danger of acting like a brute beast and denying that there is a God. What a perceptive guide to human nature we've got here. What a penetrating prayer. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. That's in a way how we've prayed as we've begun today. But then, give me neither poverty nor riches. As I was working on this sermon, yes, okay, keep lies and falsehood far from me. I get that. Don't give me poverty. That was an effortless prayer. Don't give me riches. And I felt something inside me put the brakes on. Hang on. Can we define the terms, please? What do you mean? Do you mean my car? Do you mean my clothes? Do you mean my computer? What are we talking about here? And making the whole thing even more distressing was the belief or the fact that I'm actually obscenely rich when compared to all the human beings who've ever lived. Did you know that cornflakes were only patented in 1895? But I'd consider them a basic of human experience. The can opener, 1870. How can people live without can openers? The safety pin, 1849. Gosh, what did people do? Bottled tomato sauce, 1860s. Now, isn't bottled tomato sauce just amongst the basics of human life? Like, gosh, how simpler than a sausage sizzle with a bottle of tomato sauce. But no human had experienced that before 1860. Custard powder was the 1870s. And the toilet as we know it, 1884. 1884. Give me neither riches nor poverty. Gosh, you only give me riches, cornflakes, bottled tomato sauce and toilets. Gosh. What did the writer of Proverbs imagine when he said, give me neither riches nor poverty? What would Jesus have imagined as he taught us to pray, give us our daily bread? Maybe this could be a prayer in my murky heart. Lord, don't make my life so comfortable, so ordered, so entertained and safe that I think I don't need you. You see, we need to pray prayers like that because we're very greedy. The leech has 2 daughters. I forgot to check this fact. I read it in a commentary and I did mean to check it. Leeches have 2 mouths? Is that true? That's lunchtime conversation. Don't Google. Do not Google. Oh, it's true? See, there you go. The leech has 2 daughters, 2 mouths. Give, they cry. We're very greedy, like a leech. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, verse 15. 4 that never say enough. The grave, the barren womb, land which is never satisfied with water, and fire which never says enough. And what starts to happen here, what's been going on in this chapter is this terrible, terrible parade of all the ways that we are greedy and that our needs just cannot be satisfied. Look at verse 11. There are those, now in Hebrew it's a generation. There's a generation of people who curse their fathers and don't bless their mothers. There's a generation, verse 12, of people who are pure in their own eyes, yet are not cleansed of their filth. There's a whole generation out there of people who are so haughty and whose glances are so disdainful. There is a whole generation out there of people whose teeth are swords and whose jaws are set with knives, and they devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind. Give, they cry. Is that a deep motive for you? Give. Gosh, I've got 2 mouths. Give. we can be very greedy. And maybe we can be very greedy in the way we treat each other sexually. Verse 18. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a young woman. Now, I love this verse, and I don't want it to be negative, but I don't know where this sermon's going to land for you, and I don't know where this riddle is going to work, how it's going to work in you. But you know what? Riddles are very complex. So this riddle could be saying to us, people can be very greedy when it comes to sex. Like an eagle in the sky. What's the eagle doing in the sky? Well, it's looking for a rabbit, isn't it, to eat? What's the snake doing on the rock? It's hunting a mouse. Why has the ship gone out on the high seas? Commerce, trade. And there are young men who are in it for what they can get. The language here for a man and a woman is young man, virile man, strong man, and innocent maiden. And sometimes when we say he had his way with her, the way is very negative. So this could be a mercenary verse. I want to say, oh no, no. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me. That's normally a positive word. Perhaps in the face of greed, there's something else that we experience in the world, a force of love. How do eagles stay up in the sky? I don't know. How do ships float on the sea? Okay, I know you're all doing your physics. I know. But come on. Let's do poetry. I don't know how ships float on the sea. How do snakes even get on a rock? They don't have any legs. I don't know. How is it that you make eye contact with someone and you realise that they're making eye contact with you? And how is it that you begin to notice at Beach Mission that you're always sitting at the same table? And how is it that you're washing up together and your fingers accidentally touch? And oh my gosh, it's like electricity. Where did that come from? There are things in the world that are too wonderful and too amazing. I don't know how ships float on I don't know. I don't know what goes on between a man and a woman. But it's wonderful. Where does it come from? It takes your breath away. And then it doesn't. Marriage. A business transaction where you manage who's got the car, who's driving the kids where, and how on earth are we going to pay the bills this month. What happened to the way of a ship on a sea? The way of an eagle. So if you're married, can I encourage you to go for a long drive, find an eagle in the sky, look for a ship on a sea, put your phone on silent, run a bubble bath, and enter into wonder. You know, we often say, young people, these adolescents, we've really got to bring their desires under control. But in a way, Proverbs actually says, come on, you old ones. Look at the way of young men with young women and feel the wonder of that. Get back to that. No, you say, no, that's not where the sermon's landing for me today, Kirk. Because there are three things that are too amazing for me, four that I do not understand. See, when an eagle's in the sky, it doesn't leave a trace. When a snake's on a rock, there's no footprints. A ship goes through the sea, and after a few minutes, you've got no idea that it was there. And so a man takes advantage of a woman, and he doesn't think anybody will ever know. And then there's a woman who's the same. Verse 20. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and she wipes away any trace. She wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. What a strange power sex is. I've got a poem for you. I really like this poem, but then you could criticise it as a poem about the male gaze and the objectifying of women. I don't know where this poem's going to land for you. She lifts her long skirt to cradle the windfalls. Oh, the poem is called Apples. She lifts her long skirt to cradle the windfalls. Her legs are very white, like the flesh of apples. Some things about women a woman can never know, else she would not stand with her skirt caught up, or she would more often. She stands in the shade of the laden tree, unaware I am aware of her legs. Beloved, even the apples are blushing in your lap. There are things that are too amazing for me. Beloved, even the apples are blushing in your lap. But some people are well past blushing, aren't they? It can seem like a modern problem that we lament the shamelessness that we tolerate with regard to sex, but of course it's an ancient problem. It's a problem that people have always known, that wiping of the mouth, that saying, I've done nothing wrong. Isn't it chilling how a moment of adultery and a moment of eating are put together? Eugene Peterson in the Message says, you can buy an hour with a whore for a loaf of bread, but a wanton woman may eat you alive. I wonder if in our sex-saturated society you're still able to blush. Or do you just flit from pornographic website to crude joke, to flirting with someone else's partner, to booking a hotel room and shrugging your shoulders? I've done nothing wrong. Verse 21. Under three things the earth trembles, under four it cannot bear up. A servant who becomes king, a godless fool who gets plenty to eat, a contemptible woman who gets married, and a servant who displaces her mistress. Is this comical? Can a loveless marriage or a fool with a full stomach really disrupt the whole creation? Some commentators think we're meant to laugh, but others sense a matter of great seriousness. What is it that shatters the earth about a servant becoming a king or a godless fool who has plenty to eat? Perhaps what's holding this riddle together is a sense of things being in the wrong place, a sense of Britney Spears singing at the Pope's funeral, a sense of the New Idea publishing an essay on Derrida's influence on the 21st century novel. Things have their place, and human society has its orders and patterns. To go back to Eugene Peterson's paraphrase in the Message, four things shake the earth's foundations: when the janitor becomes the boss, when a fool gets rich, when a whore is voted Woman of the Year, when a girlfriend replaces a faithful wife. Things have their place. Apprentice electricians should not design the wiring for a shopping centre. The hospital receptionist should not fill in for the neurosurgeon. It's hard for us to hear that kind of ordering, especially since the Enlightenment, especially since the creation of the USA and the philosophy of capitalism. We believe that everyone is created equal opportunity, equal rights for everyone to be whatever they can be. Don't think that I'm disrupting any order in the world by trying to be out of place. Now, Christians haven't always thought like that, you know. In the Middle Ages, there were those who pray, the clergy, those who fight, the nobility, and those who work, the peasants. We don't sing this verse of all things bright and beautiful anymore, but in 1848 it was written, all things bright and beautiful, the rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate, God made them high or lowly and ordered their estate. Now, like any good idea, this can be perverted, of course. You were born a slave, stay a slave. You were born a woman, you know your place. Get in your place. But meritocracy can also be cruel, can't it? You're poor, well, that's your fault. Work harder. You're sick, that's not my fault, that's your fault. You probably haven't been exercising enough. You're unemployed, well, that's your fault. There's nothing systemic going on here. It's your fault. Get out and do something about it. So there is something kind of liberating and refreshing to realise that sometimes we are in a place. Alain de Botton is aware of this phenomenon now of status anxiety. Once you have this notion that we can all get out of our place, then we all feel responsible for the lowly place that we've got. He calls status anxiety a worry so pernicious as to be capable of ruining extended stretches of our lives when we are in danger of failing to conform to the ideals of success laid down by our society, and that we may as a result be stripped of dignity and respect. It's a worry that we are currently occupying too modest a rung or are about to fall to a lower one. And he cleverly observes, we see this anxiety when we hear news of another person's achievement. And it's that preoccupied gaze, the brittle smile, and the overextended pause when we hear that somebody else is doing better than us. Isn't that great? The preoccupied gaze, the brittle smile, the overextended pause. See, if we're in danger of recession, redundancy, missing a promotion, retirement, if we're in conversations with colleagues in the same industry, we'll be trying to find a better place. But maybe there's an envy and a greed going on behind our status anxiety that we need to be free of. So, look at your heart. Probe your motives. How might you end up ruining a relationship because you haven't noticed that you're motivated by status anxiety? Verse 24. 4 things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyraxes are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in the crags. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. A lizard can be caught in the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. I want you to think about R2-D2. He doesn't have the rugged sexiness of Han Solo, the measured mystery of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the cuteness of Anakin, the stately grace of Princess Leia, the naive charm of Luke Skywalker, and yet he seems essential to me to every great escape and to every battle victory across all the movies. A lizard can get into kings' palaces. Smallness and wisdom can go together. Weakness and wisdom can go together. You may be the youngest in your family. You may feel frail at times. You might feel unimportant at work, insignificant at church. but maybe you'll bring the greatest wisdom. Our sage teacher, Jesus, says that the first can be last and the last first. So does that mean that all power is bad? Verse 29. Well, there are 3 things that are stately in their stride. 4 that move with stately bearing. A lion, mighty among beasts, who retreats before nothing. A strutting rooster, a he-goat, and a king secure against revolt. That's another riddle, isn't it? Is it funny? Is it satirical? I don't know. The book of Proverbs likes it when a king is in position and is doing a good job. Kings detest wrongdoing. A throne is established through righteousness. Kings can take pleasure in honest lips and value the one who speaks what is right, and they can sit on their throne to judge and winnow out all evil. So it's kind of good sometimes when the rooster gets strutting, when the lion expresses its might. Sometimes the exercise of power can be good. Anyway, if you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. You know what happens when you whip cream? It turns into butter. You know what happens when you twist somebody's nose? It bleeds. Guess what? We live in a world of consequences, and these murky motives that may cause us to press our will on somebody because of money, because of sex, in the realm of sex, in the realm of power. Because if we start pressing our will in the lives of other people, the cream will go to butter, the nose will produce blood, the stirring up of anger will produce strife. God will always do what is right and just and fair, says Proverbs 1. Well, implied in Proverbs 1. And we should do what is right and just and fair. God will work so that decency and fairness win the day. So be like a detective and probe your motives today before they powerfully take hold of you. And let's pray. Jesus, our teacher, creator and Lord, the one who made wise ants and powerful lions, who made a world of wonder and a human heart and mind so capable of so many motives all at once. Teach us to live well today and always, so that the world can wonder at who you are. Amen.